What's up, weebs and casual alike? We are Baka&Co, and we are here to provide you with a deep dive into all the random anime shows and movies, new and old, interesting and bad, that you need to know about. On today's show, we will have myself, Frankfurtter, Municipally Average, and Paperboy64. Today we are talking about Winter 2022 show Bocchi The Rock. But before that, how are we all doing today? Nothing? Silence?
I just want you to explain what municipally average means. Like, am I a municipality that's just sort of like mediocre?
You're
Or
like Ben White from Parks and Rec, and you're just Icetown.
Got it. Okay.
Something
thought
like
What about
that.
the cones?
I thought knowing
Cones of
you,
Dunshire.
I thought you just like spelled marsupial wrong or forgot the word for marsupial, and you're like, this sounds about right. Municipally.
No, I'm a little, smarter than that. Give me some sort of credit sometimes, maybe.
I don't know.
I just like Paperboy64 because it's a video game, but it's also Drew.
Oh, yeah, that's
Is
true.
he 64 years old? Or
Ow.
No, because Drewtendo64, but it's fine. It's
Ouch.
just.
I mean,
it's
break my
just-
soul.
it's
well, I
just-
mean, what's your age in paper years? Does paper have like similar?
Paper doesn't age.
Well, theoretically, if he's coming from a tree, the depends on how old the tree is.
Yeah, so we do wait. Drew, come here. We got to cut you in half and count how many rings you have on the inside.
Please don't. I need those rings to survive, like
bad.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
We need to know your age. Get over here.
Oh my god!
What's my age again?
I assume
Oh,
because
God, no.
we're just shitting around right now that y'all are doing well, and I am doing well as well.
I'm doing well now. I lost my wallet earlier today, and I thought I lost it in the city versus under my bed. So,
Well, one's definitely better than the other.
Yes, infinitely better than the other because one
Yeah.
you will never see again. The other is just a little walk away.
Also, I feel like as a paper that's 2D, you would just be using crypto at this point because
I was trying to think of
No,
what he would
I've-
be using as a currency. I guess paper currency is still a thing, but like,
yeah.
Oh, but
is it Monopoly
It would be
money?
all. It would be all Ako Taco because it's this on the same plane as him too. You could never tell what bill it is unless
Are
you
you
look.
saying plain because
What?
like, they
No,
claim
it's
logs?
2D. You can still see it.
No, you obviously never watched the Futurama episode where they go 2D because you cannot tell what the bill is because all you see is a line. You won't
Well,
be
no,
able to tell.
isn't that 1D?
No. As a two-dimensional creature, you cannot look to the sides of you. Everything is in 2D on the plane.
Look,
so you
I
would
can
only
look.
see the dollar bill
Alrighty,
as
we are
a
getting
paper line.
we are getting way out there.
Like I can look to
Alright,
the sides.
Let's reel it.
Jokes on you, fools. This isn't Bocchi the Rock. We're talking about Futurama. Episode 1.
No, we are talking about Bocchi the Rock, so let's get into it. Bocchi the Rock is a manga written and illustrated by Aki Hamaji. The manga started in December 2017 as a kind of like guest appearance in a magazine, and then it got serialized in March 2018, and since then has been combined into 5 total volumes. It is technically still ongoing. The anime was directed by Kiichiro Saito, who has also worked as an animator, storyboarder, and director on many shows and movies, including Ascendance of a Bookworm, Sunny Boy, Little Witch Academia, Wonder Egg Priority, and then, funny enough, Mob Psycho Season 3, which also came out last season. He was the storyboard director for like episode 3, I think I read. But he's also done, or they've also done many, many other shows and movies and such. So that's a little bit about the who behind it, but the production company behind it, the people who animated it, was Cloverworks, which, if you live under a rock, is responsible for one half of Spy Family, Akiba's Sailor Uniform, My Dress-Up Darling, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, and a bunch of other shows and movies that you would recognize. But those are big, huge call-outs to, quality work that they've done. And then also in Bocchi the Rock, we had our cast of 4 main characters. So there's a huge cast of side characters, and by huge, I mean 2, maybe 3. But the 4 main cast of characters included Bocchi, or Hitori Goto, Nijika Ijichi, Ryo Yamada, and Ikio Kita. Bocchi was voiced by voice actress Yoshino Aoyama, who was also worked as Mark and Alicia from Promised Neverland, so 2 of the children, Guri in Love Tyrant, and Yoshino Nanase in Wake Up Girls. And then Nijika, the voice actress for her was Sayumi Suzushiro, whose notable works include Kai Shirogane in Kaguya-sama, Kurina in 86, Uruka in We Never Learn, and Akira Ono in High School Girl, to just list a few. She's got a huge track list of shows that she's
High
worked
Score
on.
Girl.
Yeah, did I not say that?
You said high school.
Oh, High Score Girl. Sorry, I thought I said High
No,
Score
you're okay.
Girl.
You're
She
good.
could be in high school.
Yeah,
We don't know.
I'm pretty sure in that show they are in high school, if not middle school.
Just scoring in high school.
Oh boy!
That's what the show's
Whoa,
about,
whoa,
right?
whoa, 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 whoa.
No, they're not. No,
What?
they're
That's what
playing
you
video
said.
games.
It's high school score girl. She's
Nope.
just scoring. Okay.
Anyways, Ryo's voice actress is Saku Mizuno, whose notable works include Raven of the Inner Palace and which she played. Where the fuck am I at right now? In Raven of the Inner Palace, she voiced Jusetsu Ryu. And then she also voiced Rena Hananoi in Selection Project. She's kind of a newer voice actress. She really doesn't have too many credits to her name. She's got a few supporting things that are like really low, but like those are the two main ones that she has, of course, alongside with Bocchi The Rock now. And then the last character, Kita Ikio, was voiced by Ikumi Hasegawa, whose notable works include Vladimir. I'm butchering that. The like girl in the back from 86.
Just say Vlad.
The one, Vlad from 86. The girl in the back with the white hair. You've seen her. Minami Nanami from bottom tier character Tomazaki, and Decimi in Love After World Domination, amongst other supporting roles. So that is basically just like the overall foundation of the show. Those are your main characters. Those are the people who made it and the people who did all the artwork for it and produced it. The show, if you haven't heard, is about Bocchi, or Hitori Goto, who is basically just a very social, anxious person who wants to become a rock star because she thinks that becoming a rock star will get her out of her shell and make her not be so introverted and become popular. So she main goal wants to... No, I know, the money comes later.
And it makes that sweet, sweet dough, baby.
Well, that's eventually, she's just like, you know what, I've sunk so much time in it, I just need to, like, this will be my career. But eventually, really what it is her main goal was to perform at her school's culture festival, essentially. So that was, like, her main goal. That's, like, the premise of the show. Lads, I mean, who wants to start with this? Because there's so much to talk about here.
2D boy, you want to go for it?
Yeah, of course. So it really hit hard and hit home with me because before I became 2D, I was 3D. But in middle school and high school, I had very much a similar thing where I was very into video games and Dungeons and Dragons, things like that. And in my area, not a lot of people were into that, so I was the outcast. I didn't have a lot of friends. And then in high school, I started meeting like another friend group, and they pulled me out of just playing video games at home all day. Like I got a friend group, and Bocchi kind of does that as well, where she is this internet phenomenon that nobody knows really who she is because she goes as Guitar Hero online, no relation to the game. But
Which was funny.
yeah, I'm very surprised they didn't touch on that. But anyways, I digress. She stumbles upon this rock band. She just becomes quick friends, but then they start kind of breaking her down to be like, no, we're here for you. You can be super weird and unconscious a third of the day. We don't care. We're your friends. And just ballooning from there into what this show is really about a bunch of friends finding how much they like each other's musics, talent, and finding memories and just having a blast. And there's not an episode where you're not laughing. There's not an episode where you're bored. Everything just is so much fun. And every character, like from her little sister that just kind of harasses her throughout the day.
Goddamn devil! Holy shit!
Yeah.
Little sister is just
Well,
brutal.
demon thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to go to school, and she's like, "Wake up!" and she's like, "Ah!" But everyone in the show is awesome and has like a meaningful part. There are going to be the no name throwaway characters like the fans and whatnot, but they come back and they have a reason to be back. And Bochi slowly stops performing in a mango box and instead rocks out really hard and has a blast. And it was very heartwarming to see like her evolution as well, going from I want no one to ever look at me into like I'm having fun and this is awesome.
Yeah, so there's you put like you've touched upon some of the plot, but also just some of the character relationships. I feel like it is kind of really funny to look at like how these characters came together in such the most bizarre way that it actually still works. Like uh Kita was the guitarist for the band for Nijika, who plays the drums, and Ryo, who plays the bass. And then because Kita doesn't really know how to play guitar, she just kind of dipped. So they find Bocchi just kind of sitting on a park swing with her guitar on her back, and they inducted her into the band because they needed a guitarist. Well, the reason why Nijika's in the band is because she wants to make her venue that she essentially lives at or lives above popular for her sister to, kind of give her sister like purpose of like, hey, you gave up your dreams so I could do my dreams. I want to, make this a place that we both love and make this a place that, we're both proud of and you can do whatever you want as well. Rio's there because she can play the music that she wants to play with Nijika. uh, Hitori Goto or Bocchi is just there because she got picked up, and then Kita comes back because she's a fan of Ryo and is like obsessed with her. So it's like this weird hodgepodge of members that are all there for very different reasons that eventually come together and be like, okay, we like each other, we play well with each other, let's try and do this right and, become as big as we can and go as far as we can. And I mean, that's just kind of like a simplification of the story and the characters and their relationships. I think that the most fascinating part about this is the characters and their developments, as you touched upon, Drew, as well. With Bocchi being the main front and center character of the nervous wreck that she is, but it's so interesting to see a show take on social anxieties in so many different ways, in which Nijika is probably the least and most outgoing person in the band. Kita being very outgoing, but also somebody who has a lot of social anxiety, in which she wants to be a people pleaser and wants to be seen in a good light, that she's like bending over backwards to, appease the people and make sure that they like her rather than just being, kind of herself. And then Rio's just this introvert who's fine being a loner and doesn't have really many social anxieties. She likes being alone. And then Bocchi is just a nervous fucking wreck of a human. So it's really interesting to see that this show took so many different types of social anxieties and social personalities, fit them into 4 different characters, and make them work so well. Tyler, I know you have a lot to say about the show in general or whatnot, but like, give us a little bit of what you enjoyed about this.
I mean, I enjoyed it more surface level than both of you. Just in general, like the humor, the overall like feeling that it that came across right from the beginning too, of this extremely awkward girl breaking out of her shell, but not really breaking on her own, basically being forced and dragged, and like she's scratching, trying to go back into her shell constantly, and just getting thrown into different situations and having to survive. And just it made me laugh all the time. And like didn't really connect with any of the characters on like a particular level, but I will say like it is, as someone who has a lot of hobbies that you just kind of do by yourself, it's nice to be like, yeah, I have had those instances where playing guitar in my room for like hours and hours and hours and being like, yeah, I'm pretty good. And then like do like recording stuff and be like, yeah, it sounds really good. And then just having that fear of like everyone's gonna hate it, no one's gonna like you, they're all gonna hate you, no one's gonna think you're cool. You're just doing this by yourself in a vacuum, you loser. And then it's like you watch this and you're like, oh no, like a lot of people have those same feelings and fears. So that's like the one area I connected with the most. But overall, I thought the characters were great. I thoroughly enjoyed how they showed Bocchi's growth throughout, because you could see each and every episode small little pieces of her starting to emerge as she's getting put into these new situations by the other band members, and she's being forced to interact with other people and put into different environments and stuff. But it's never, she doesn't have like that really tropey anime esque growth where it's like I've experienced one thing and now I'm fully acclimated to this environment and I am an extrovert and I am completely I've fixed my awkward anti social anxiety. Everything's cured. It's more like a, ooh, yeah, I finally was able to talk to a stranger, and then a new stranger comes up and says something different than the first one, and she goes, huh? Ah! Like just crawls back into her shell. Like it's that piece. I'm like, okay, at least it's grounded in some reality where it's like, yeah, someone with social anxiety is not going to be able to master everything after just being kind of tossed into the deep end and have them make their way out. It's basically just getting tossed in the deep end constantly until they're able to finally tell the person, fucking stop throwing me in the deep end, Jesus. So no, it was fantastic. I loved everything about the show. I love the characters. I love the storyline. I love the music. The music alone, good gosh, it was incredible. And the animation too. A big props to Cloverworks for the animation. It was a lot of fun. They did a lot of really quirky, goofy things with Bocchi at times that I found to be very delightful and also kind of weird and scary at times. But it played into the whole Bocchi vibe. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, the experiences that he's talking about are the different art styles that Cloverworks did. Basically, whenever Bocchi's in her own mind, it will completely shift to either A, different art styles, or B, like claymation models that are just doing weird random shenanigans on screen. One of them being they're playing the game of life, essentially, and Bocchi just keeps landing on the worst squares possible, but it's literally a hand that's picking up like a clay model that's going across the board. They do some really bizarre things, but I think one of the most favorite things that I really enjoyed and that are really subtle, some are more subtle than others, are all the different anime references that they make throughout the show.
Oh,
Um, like, I mean, at the very last episode, they have a Dragon Ball Z one that's completely blatant of Bocchi going Super Saiyan, which is fucking hilarious. She's like getting ready to quit her job because she just made money from all her YouTube videos as Guitar Hero. And she's like, yes, I can quit now, and I have enough money to stay in the band and meet my quotas for the next 6 years. And then she goes to try and, like, after going Super Saiyan, tries to quit, and she's just like, oh, no, never mind, I can't do this, never mind. Haha, jokes.
I'm gonna crawl back into my trash can now. Goodbye.
Yeah, and there's another scene where, another Dragon Ball reference that I thought was absolutely fucking hilarious, in which she gets attacked by birds, and then she just drops dead like Yamcha
Yep.
in a
Yeah.
crater.
Yeah, like Yamcha.
That was so bad.
I replayed
fucking
it like 3
God.
times because I was laughing so hard. Like
Ugh.
same position, same like crater in the ground. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
R.I.P. Yamcha.
It was so funny, but I mean, there's so many other like subtle callbacks to other anime. Like they have a Fooly Cooly one where Bocchi literally runs out of the room, and then all of a sudden she's got like the spinny wheel animation for feet, like literally shot for shot, like from Fooly Cooly, which I thought was really freaking cool. But just like the little subtle callbacks that they have to other shows and such is the show was very masterfully crafted, and all the detail was paid attention to, and there isn't really a bad thing I can say about this show. Like honestly, I could sit the entire time and gush about favorite moments, funniest moments, etc. Which I do think the funniest moment that got probably the biggest laugh at me was near the end of the entire show, where they are at the music store, and Najika is just like, "Oh, this is that one weird loner drummer band thing that you see in manga all the time, where they can't relate to anything." And she's like, "Maybe I'll buy a bass and guitar." And the other three are just thinking like, and for a split second, it's just like a fucking disco rave of Najika just taking guitars and basses and just smashing cymbals with them. They're like, no, 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 you don't need to buy a guitar. You're fine. Like, but it just lasts like a half a second, and I burst out laughing because it's just so unexpected. it's so good. It's so funny. This show in general is amazing. Drew, I mean, what scenes? What are some like standout moments to you in this show?
I really liked the scene when they go out to celebrate their first concert, and just progressively through it, Bocchi's getting more and more overloaded, and so eventually, what happens is she turns into like a pile of dust. But the group already has handled this before, and they start like reshaping her, putting her back together. And one of the like comments is, "Oh, they seem experienced with this situation." And it was
Yeah.
just funny that they're acknowledging that these girls are here for Bocchi, and that they've dealt with how she handles things. But I also really enjoyed the Yamcha reference, because I can never get tired of watching that guy get his ass kicked. So
Oh, R.I.P. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think my favorite scene is I like when they incorporate that was one other piece I was gonna mention, is that I like when they incorporate like when Bocchi has her weird inner monologuing moments and animation gets weird. Sometimes it's in her head, sometimes it's on the outside, where like she'll just like pass out in the street and go into like crazy lines and like polygons and stuff, and they're like, we don't know what to do. And then by the end of the show they're like, okay, here's how we handle this, and like prop her up and stuff, and they're like, just give her like 5 minutes, she's in Bocchi world right now. Like, I like how it started to segue into that later, but I think my favorite one of that was Bocchi had invited over Kita and Nijika to her house, and she's like,
Oh yes.
for some
oh
reason,
yeah,
Yes.
Bocchi, as the introvert, watching YouTube videos and videos online, thought this is how you have to have a party, and it's having like a little disco ball, a bunch of like rave things, but then she's in like the what is those like glasses with the big nose and the mustache, Mark as
Oh
a
yeah, like a disguise kit.
Groucho. Yeah, what's yeah?
Oh, I don't know
there's
the
the
actual
name of it.
for it.
Groucho Marx.
Yeah, Groucho Marx. Thank you. She's like got that, and like she like comes out like all crazy. She's like trying to be like a party animal for no reason. And then
The queen of Woot.
yeah, she's wonderful. I love her. But then I can't remember what leads up to it, but she like explodes and turns into like a poison dust,
Oh
and
yeah,
like
they
everyone starts passing out.
they dress her up as like a maid, or they dress
Oh
her up in
yes, they're
something
dressing her up.
else, and they're like,
'Cause-
I wonder what you would look like without your bangs, and they lift her up her bangs, and you see like her forehead, and it's just like the glare from it just blinds everybody, and just she turns to dust and just poisons everybody, and they all
Yeah.
pass out.
Yeah, mind you, Bocchi only ever wears a pink tracksuit like all the time. So they were like, "You have all these clothes. Why don't you try them on?" And yeah, it ends up with them dying from Bocchi's poison. But it's also like it's the, the two characters, Kita and Nijika, who are like dying, explaining the situation to Bocchi's parents, who show up and realize there's two dying kids. But then it's also all the little Bocchi dust flakes falling to the ground, making these little like sighing noises that kill me too. And it was I can't remember how it ends, but it just ends really somber like.
Yeah, don't
And I'm
they
like,
all
yeah,
pass out?
well, yeah, it's they all die, Drew. That's the whole joke, is that they all die. But I love how goofy it is. Like there are serious moments where it's not like super somber by any means, like, or sad, but like, there's some touching moments where you see the characters have like heart to heart conversations, and then you just have these weird, like, stupid, goofy moments that just kind of bring you back, and you're like, oh yeah, this is also kind of like a comedy too. And then you have intense rock shows, and you're like, oh yeah, it's also a music show too, huh? Look at that. And then it's a slice of life, and there's just episodes where they just go out shopping and stuff. You're like, oh yeah, forgot about that too.
I think they did it twice, where like mid episode they ended the show. They're like, "Oh, that's the end of
Yep,
the show,"
that's-
and they
yeah,
start
yeah.
rolling credits. Like I told my younger sister about this. I was like, "Nicole, you need to watch this show," and she's like, "Okay, fine, I'll watch it." And so she came over, started watching it, and I think we were in episode 2, and my wife and I were cooking dinner, and while she was watching it. And that scene happened where the credits started rolling, and she clicked out of the episode. I was like, "Nicole, what are you doing? The episode's still going." She's like, "But the credits." I was like, "No, you idiot!
No, it's
That's just
fake."
a joke."
Because
She's
I think
like,
they
"Oh,
all
I
just
didn't
I think they
know."
all say Bocchi or something. They're
Yeah,
all
it's
Kita
like-
yeah,
it's
they
like-
do.
and Big Bocchi.
like crab
Yeah.
person Bocchi or some shit like that.
Yeah.
One really fun fact about this show that I thought was I was like, there ain't no fucking way, but oh my god, it's true. There's an episode where they're trying to take pro photos, basically just like a cover photo for the band, and just be like, this is the vibe of the band, and they're looking at spots, and one of the characters says, Bocchi, you should sign up for social media and start posting on social media, and she has a freak out. During that freak out, she like is yelling on the ground, like screaming. That scream is completely unedited. It is all natural.
Oh,
It is
that's terrifying.
so terrifying because it sounds almost robotic.
Yeah.
It is horrifying, but it is also really fucking cool little fun tidbit there. And the only reason people know that it's like a real scream is I believe the voice actress was streaming or on a stream of some sort and told people about it, and they're like, no, there ain't no way that that's real. And she's like, yeah, I can do it live. And she fucking did it live, and people were like, oh my
What?
fucking god.
Like, what the fuck creature are you? That's
Yeah,
not human.
So it was just one of those, like, that's such a weird, bizarre, fun fact about this show that the voice actress just was like, yeah, I could literally scream and sound like a fucking amplifier just exploded.
Nice.
It's so funny. But I think, like, there's so many memorable moments and memorable characters that there's really not a throwaway thing about this show. I can't think of one thing that I'm just like, this wasn't necessary or that moment wasn't necessary. Like, everything meshed so well together and the atmospheres meshed so well together. But I showed this scene to Tyler yesterday after our recording of like anime awards that we gave out and talking about our favorite shows of the year last year. There is a scene in episode 8, which is when they do their first performance and then they go do the party afterwards, which is Drew's favorite scene, where she's just dust and they're reforming her. But during the concert, there is a scene that you might think otherwise like be throwaway, but really fucking resonated with me, in which there are two girls that come to the concert because they saw Bocchi like perform like on the street just in her hometown to try and sell tickets, and they actually showed up during this like hurricane that's going on in Japan or wherever they're at.
Mm-hmm.
They're in Japan, I just don't know what city. And it should have been throwaway. These characters should have been throwaway characters, but they weren't, because they're showing the band, they're showing the people in the audience, and up front and center, there's the back of these girls' two heads just bouncing up and down. And then the shot pans over to them for like maybe at most 2 seconds, if that. And they both have like a smile on their face and they are just bouncing up and down. And I felt more seen from that than anything else, because I have been that fucking person. They've nailed the atmosphere in this show so well that they included the two diehard fan people that are just like, I'm just happy to be here. Like, I'm enjoying my time. I've been that person. I've seen concerts where there are literally 8 people in the venue and we are just vibing, bouncing up and down and doing that as well. Like, I've been that person. I've gone to friends' concerts where they've just been minimal people too. Like, that resonated with me so hard. I was just like, this should be throwaway. These characters shouldn't fucking matter. But they nailed it. They fucking nailed what it's like to be at a small concert with their friends. It's just the attention to detail in this show is so immense that it just blows my mind just thinking about it. So I don't know. Somebody else just take it away, because I've talked for way too long. Drew, take it away. You share something else that you either enjoyed, or is there anything you found about the show that you didn't like?
No, straight up. So my anime list has it as 10. Like, to me, there's nothing bad about this show. There will never be anything bad about this show, because to Frank's point about being seen, it brings my heart such immense joy, especially in the winter, that this show just came out, had a blast, and just lightened up my days. Like, when I was told we were going to watch it, I powered through the first 4 episodes, and then I thought, oh, you know what, maybe I should pump the brakes here and take a break. No, absolutely not. It was just so much fun to keep being involved with Bocchi as someone who is now wow,
You're good.
neurodivergent.
Nailed it.
I do have attention deficit disorder, but I am socially anxious at times. So to to feel connected to Bocchi in a way that is, hey, like I do that too. And it's just again, it's a heartwarming show. I said this before we started recording. My favorite anime band show was K-On, but Bocchi just kicked its ass. Like, and Bocchi is so much shorter and sweeter and just a really good time.
Yeah, it's weird to think that Bocchi is 12 episodes, but by the end of the 12th episode, you're like, you are craving more, but at the same time, it ends so satisfyingly that you're like, you know what? If they don't make another episode, I'm good with that too. Like the show is really just a complete package, and it's just, if you haven't seen it yet, I implore you to go watch it because, as I said last night when we recorded, there's literally something for everyone in this show. Whether it be you resonate with one of the characters, it be the atmosphere of being in a small venue listening to indie bands, or just the comedy and the absurdity of it. There's something for everyone in this show. And I do implore anybody to watch it. Tyler, I mean, do you have what else can we say about this show, honestly?
There's not too much else really. Um, in terms of hiccups, I couldn't find any either. I thought pacing was great. I thought how they set up each character, they took their time to really build in the characters and establish their personalities and how they mesh and repel each other at times too. I thought that was important, especially the fact that they're a band, right? Like the two founding members, Nijika and Yamada, like they go kind of butt heads to heads a lot too. Like they're friends and they go to school together, but there are times where like they're the ones going at each other's throats more than anyone else, and then you see how Kita and Bocchi sort of interact with that and how they coming into the band sort of mellow things out and start to develop like new relationships and new um just a whole like vibe in the band and the identity of the band too. So I thought everything about it was great. Like we've said countless times, the animation was superb from Cloverworks. If you watched My Dress Up Darling and liked it, very similar style to that, where a lot of like the scenery is like that weird, almost
It's
like
like
they
they
took a
took a
picture.
Yep, they took a picture and just kind of animated over the
Yeah,
picture.
which I think is cool. Like I like it. I don't have to have everything hand drawn. I think that adds to like the almost realistic, excuse me, the realistic style of the show too.
I
Like
think, yeah, if it depends on the show for them to actually pull that off and it actually feel comfy and like a part of the show, and I think that they nailed that as well in this. But
yeah,
if you were to put that in
it-
like '86, I don't think that would
no, I
work.
mean it was definitely situational. Like you'd see it in the guitar store in the last episode when they go shopping for a new guitar. Like you see it sometimes in like the venue because there's a lot of like just stuff in the venue and it's a lot of clutter. So I love that aspect of it too. Music was awesome. It didn't fall into that your boy Kong Ming trap hole of like playing one song over and over and over and over
I
again
was
until the very
so
end.
thankful for that. So
Yeah.
thankful for that.
Yeah, there was a lot of diversity too. Um, and then yeah, I mean, like I thought everything about the comedy too was right on point. Like it wasn't that weird kind of forced comedy that you see in a lot of newer shows too. It was very much in line with this character Bochi, who from the very beginning of the anime were like, hey, she's a introvert weird kid with high like you love Comey, you think Comey's got some social anxiety and you think the communication disorders an issue. Boy, oh boy, wait do you make this basket case, because she's got more than a couple of screws loose. She's got the whole shed just falling apart. Okay, like it's a rough go. So the fact that they made it very apparent early on that like she's going to be put in situations and it's going to be really funny to watch her deal with this.
And there are some really awkward, like cringeworthy moments that I'm just like, you know what, I'm here for it. Like
Oh
the
yeah.
in the last
Well,
episode, the stage dive
And
Oh my
that's what I was
God,
gonna say too,
great.
is that it's very on the nose with the fact that like they don't make the comedy like a haha she has social anxiety. The comedy is about like, as someone who is socially anxious and an introvert, how is she going to deal with these social interactions? And it's things that she does and says that make it super awkward but super hilarious. Like they do a really good job of capturing that piece of not being like a let's mock the person because they have, social anxiety. It's like a,
Let's get
hey,
them through it.
yeah, we're gonna watch
Yeah.
them get through it, but it's gonna be awkward as fuck. Like she's gonna trip over herself countless times, and it's not going to be clean conversations all the time too. It's gonna be weird, but that's just how it is, and that's how she's gonna learn and how she's gonna grow. But through that, there's a lot of comedy and humor involved, which I thought was perfect. So no, it's a 10 out of 10. It battled neck and neck, in my opinion, with Chainsaw Man for the entire year, not just this season, because fall season was stacked to the brim with amazing shows. I still think Chainsaw Man took the cake, but like Bocchi the Rock is a show that no one really kind of had on their radar. I feel like just swept across everyone's list and hit all the marks for everyone. Like I hadn't seen any videos and any reviews that said otherwise. It was, holy shit, have you seen this show Bocchi the Rock? Or like, I've never heard of this, but it just blew me away. Like that's all the reviews and sentiment I hear. So it's wonderful. Please go watch it.
You set yourself up for the pun. It hit all the notes, and you didn't take it.
I didn't need to make a pun. The audience is smart. They get it. They don't need you explaining it.
Puns
You
are
fucking
great.
dweeb.
Over-explain the pun. Let's go.
He didn't say the
You
pun.
fucking
He
social
almost said
awkward
it, and I was
weirdo.
wishing he
Go
did.
back into your hole, you introverted weirdo.
I'm in my hole.
Boo!
I am in my hole.
Boo on
this,
you.
Boo this man.
I'm gonna take out my scissors, Drew. You better shut your trap.
We're really gonna count the rings.
Oh no.
Drew, what are your kind of final thoughts, and what would you rate, and would you recommend this to people?
I would 100% recommend it, and it's a 10 out of 10. It would be honestly a show I recommend to people trying to find something different, someone trying to find something new, or to someone who's like, I need 5 shows, different varieties of anime to get me started. And I would say Bocchi, because it on the surface there isn't a heavy story, there isn't an intense like plot. It's just fun, and the payoff in the end is just amazing characters. Side note that Rio is the best mainly because she keeps saying she's going to pay Bocchi back, and
Yeah.
it gets to a point where she hasn't paid her back, and then Nijika's like, no, I'm just going to like skim her paycheck from now on to pay you back. And she gets so mad.
Yeah, Rio's a fucking hilarious character because she's like this little rich girl who just spends all her money on new instruments and new like stuff for music, and then doesn't have money for food otherwise. So she just always is skimming off the top of her friends for food and whatnot. It's like, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back.
And hasn't. And yeah, Bocchi even calls her out. She's like, it's been a month, Rio.
Everyone has a friend like that.
Yeah. But Drew, I'll ask you one last question before I say my final thoughts and back us out of this lovely guitar train wreck of a show. By train wreck, I mean Bocchi is a train wreck.
Okay.
Could have just said this awful stage dive of a show.
Oh my god, that scene is great. Drew, because we didn't talk to you yesterday, what was your anime of the year last year?
My anime of the last year is
2022.
2022.
Yeah, last year. Is that that guy? He's hungry all the time, and he just wants to cop a feel, and all his friends just let him down.
Good old Chainsaw Man.
Good old
exactly.
Chainsaw Man.
He just needs love, and anyone.
I was like, Bocchi from Ranking of Kings? Like, all his friends let him down, and everyone hates him. And
the other Bocchi!
Does he eat all the time?
I mean, he's very tiny, and he's born from the giants, so I mean, he's got to have some sort of appetite.
He's hungry.
Right? I suppose, but Thanks, Drew, for your thoughts. As for me, this is a 10 out of 10 for me, and this was
Nice.
my favorite anime of the year last year. As I said yesterday, Chainsaw Man was probably the best anime of the year last year, in sense of just overall package and setting up a phenomenal season 2, which will be even better. But to me, I think my favorite show though last year was definitely Bocchi the Rock. Like Bocchi the Rock, it came out of nowhere. It surprised me, and there wasn't a moment where the only moment in the show that I did not enjoy was when the episode ended every week. I think that this show is a blast. This show, yeah, I know. Fuck you too. This show,
You're
this show
so
is just
lame. Boo.
suck my butt, buddy. Anyways, this show is just, it was just a joy from start to finish, from the first few seconds to like of her just awkwardly standing up after watching TV saying, "Dad, can I use your guitar?" and play guitar, and the dad being like, "She's finally doing it," to the very end of it where, you know, Boshi's walking back to school or to the job and she's like, "Another day at work." It just, everything about the show was incredible and enjoyable, and it is definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. So so yeah, but thank you all for joining us today. If you have any suggestions on what we should watch next, please send them our way by giving us a tweet at Baka&Co Podcast. We also want to thank Akano from SoundCloud for our intro song. But until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then.